So, I like sometimes to kick these shows off by giving you a little glimpse into my mind.
Sort of pulling back the curtain, you know?
Yeah, parting the thighs,
Mhm,
you know.
right.
Just... Yeah, sorry. I was...
Did you get distracted because you talked about opening the thighs and just that was you gone?
Yeah, basically my brain was then like, should we carry that on? No, we shouldn't, because you jumped straight to thighs.
I was going to ask, is that where you keep your mind, is between your thighs?
Well, I mean, I do think with what's there a fair bit. Oh, God, this is way better than what I was going to talk about. We've jumped onto a better line of discussion. But yeah, that pause was because I was like, you know what, we could carry that on. But after part the thighs, I had lick the crack, which isn't a thing. It's not pertinent.
Between the two ways that I could get some insight and go inside your mind, I'd rather part the thighs than lick the crack, if I'm honest.
Yeah. People do tend to go for that option.
Just personal preferences.
Yeah. Well, yeah, when I hand my random hookups the menu, they do tend to go with the thighs first. And then maybe crack for pudding. You know.
Yeah, see how it goes first.
Yeah, you know, you don't want to spoil your dinner at the end of the day. Anyway, what I meant to say, and after that, this is absolutely nothing now. I went for a glass of water before we started recording, and you two were talking. And I came back to good luck with your sack of potatoes.
Yeah.
Which... having no context absolutely delighted me. So, you know, I was thinking maybe Conrad has a terminally ill sack of potatoes. Like, it's hooked up to a machine.
By the time Conrad's done with it, it's going to be a terminally ill sack of potatoes.
Oh, I imagine
Hopefully.
they've not long to live, yeah.
Yeah. 2-3 more minutes.
But in my mind, I've got a full bag in a bed with a drip and everything. Which, if it was anything other than a sack of potatoes, that would be quite dark, now that I've said it out loud. My other option was the sack of potatoes behind Conrad at all times with a gun. And that's as far as the thought went.
Well, Steph,
by the way, I need the listeners to know if they think any of this has been developed, is developing, or will develop into a funny idea. Somehow you don't know me very well.
See,
couldn't
Steph,
have been listening for long.
I think there might be a punchline here, which is, I'm sorry to tell you, it was video game related chat. You brought the start of the show to video games.
Of course, because computers are full of chips.
No, but I like that. That's good.
No, this is Expedition 33.
Oh, because people in the game industry keep getting sacked. Which isn't true, by the way. Redundancy and firings are two different things.
Oh, yeah.
Redundancy, which happens in the game industry and the tech sector all the time, is a cruelty indulged in by the executive class.
It's reorganization.
Oh, yeah, sorry, restructuring.
Mm-hmm. That's what these people do. They're builders, right? They're makers of things. They organize and build structures that collapse under their own mismanagement and weight and are incapable of producing the actual thing those organizations and structures were meant to produce.
They build houses out of cards dipped in milk. just all soggy and eventually sticky. But that's enough about what you get when you part the thighs.
Hey.
So yes, Steph, I'm teaching you a little bit of French here. Expedition 33, there's an enemy called the Ultimate Sack-a-Patat.
Oh yeah,
Sac
the
a patat is it sounds like the French words sac a patat, which is sack of potatoes.
Patat, yeah.
It's a big potato sack enemy.
Yep.
I used to be good at French. They they teach French in secondary school in the UK, and I was getting really good at it. And then we changed teachers to a French, like an actual French national teacher, and I got worse.
See, I can tell you why you got worse. It's the same reason I got really discouraged in learning French when I went on, like, an exchange trip and went to France for a week. Which is that actual French people in France, or from France, absolutely fucking hate anyone who cannot speak perfect French.
That's what I've heard.
I remember going to Paris and attempting to order a hot chocolate at a cafe in French. I was supposed to be practicing my French. And I just distinctly remember this sneery person in this Paris cafe just looking down their nose at me and going, "Don't try to speak French. It's easier for everyone if you speak English."
Holy fuck.
And I remember just being like, "Up, that's me done with that language."
There is something to the idea of somebody, like, going to the effort to learn your language, and then you turning around and saying, just don't.
See, it's the complete opposite to Germany, where, like, I throw in, like, one German word in the middle of a sentence because I do know that word, and, like, I get a big thank you. It's like, ooh, I'm glad I learned that word.
Well, to be fair, there are a lot of individual German words that are known around the world that they would probably prefer that we not be the only German that we know. So,
I mean, here's the secret to German. A lot of it is just English words in a German accent. That's the secret to learning German. Because, like, English people go on holiday to foreign countries, particularly people from England go on holiday to foreign countries, and they just speak in English with an accent, and it's horribly offensive. Except when you do it in Germany, where it is oddly useful.
Well, that's not what a man who used to sell flowers at Sidcup train station told me. And I think he knows a little bit more about language. Because that man, who I did a little bit of work for back in the day, he told me the same thing but for Spanish. And I think a man that's selling flowers out the back of his van at Sidcup train station is the exact kind of man you'd go to for such advice as, speaking Spanish is easy. You just use English words, but you put L at the beginning.
Oh no. Oh.
L, where's the L toilet?
I mean, look, I'm gonna give you some German words right now and see how well you get on with guessing them. Apfel. What fruit do you think that might be?
Well, now that you've told me it's a fruit, like, now that you've narrowed it to fruit.
Okay, I'll stop. I won't narrow it down. Garten.
It's garden.
Of ban.
Yeah, it's garden. House.
I'm assuming house.
Yeah, that's house.
H-A-U-S, yeah. Well,
Mouse.
sure, because these are all, Latin-derived languages. There are a lot of similarities between them. Yeah.
Yeah, but German's got more of them than most. Like, German, I can just be like, Milch, it's milk. It's, you just put a slight accent on it and said milk. It's basically the same. Your father, don't you mean your Vater?
So
your water, your Wasser.
I guess what you're saying is we're all Germany. Huh.
We know a German king.
That's true.
Conrad.
We do know a German king.
Our friend Jonathan Holmes, who we sometimes, very occasionally like to name drop. Our friend who was on Road Rules, The Northern Trail. The blood of German kings flows through him. He is a scion of a German cult called the Bruderhof, and they make toys out in the mountains. And he told us this story about when they went to I think, was it his great grandfather,
I think
where they
so.
went to ask him about the guns that he was hoarding, and his answer was just, it's just to shoot a bear, maybe, which is the best excuse to have a gun ever, to shoot a bear, maybe. I'd have let him off. But
the maybe does concern me that it's like, putting the word maybe at the end of that sentence makes it sound the most like a lie you made up on the spot that anything could sound.
Yeah. My favourite lies is to use any that end in maybe or probably, with definitely being a close third.
Oh yeah, definitely's a winner. Yeah,
definitely is a great one. But I think honestly it keeps him covered, because if he then goes on to shoot a man with it, he won't get done for lying to the police because he said maybe. So he'd only get the murder rap, which has got to count for something.
Maybe it counts for something, or maybe this is Podquisition. We talk about video games here sometimes from time to time.
We do.
We do a bit of that.
Claire Obscure Expedition 33 is a good video game, by the way.
It's a very good
That is a good video game.
I don't know if anyone's mentioned it.
I was so distracted by this conversation, I still haven't finished this combat. So
how are you getting on with the game, Conrad?
It's great. I'm in the Act 3 stuff still. I still have a couple of character side quests to do before finishing up.
You're in the bit where it's like you could go to the end, but like there's so much stuff to go see.
And there is so much stuff to go see. Like getting the late game travel ability.
Yeah.
Introduces you to so much more of the world that you've already visited that you didn't even realize you could have access to, or that there was anything to access there.
They do such a great job of keeping the camera just tight enough so you don't realize if you'd pulled back a bit, over that wall there's a dungeon over there, or like a super secret boss like just over that hill. Yeah,
they've really done a great job with that, and it makes the world feel so dense with stuff, despite the fact that I'm having to travel what feel like great distances to get from one thing to another. It's really remarkable, the dissonance in my spatial understanding here. But I'm still really enjoying that. I have been tinkering around a bit more with the mechanics in combat. I'm trying to play with burn more and see if I can find ways to maximize burn damage contributions. That's fun. It's still very enjoyable. I will probably still be playing it for a few more weeks before I get around to actually calling it a day and doing the final assault. But the world, I mean, like, once you reach this point of the world and sort of like the veil is lifted, so to speak, on what's quote unquote really going on, it's so brilliant at showing you just enough of what's really going on to not answer any questions really, and only raise many more about the cosmology of this universe.
Yeah.
And I love that, because I really hope that a lot of that's just left alone. And you know, the game's done so fucking well now that there's going to be such sequel demand, and that kind of disappoints me. Because there's a big part of me that wants just what's fleshed out to be most of what remains fleshed out. I want to see this story wrapped up, and that world almost not clarified for me further in a way that a sequel would almost certainly do.
Me and Steph had, I think, this exact same conversation about the game being like, there's such a clear faction that would make sense for a sequel, but I kind of love knowing nothing about the entire other side of what's going on.
Yeah.
And that it's just like, yeah, they got their own stuff going on probably, but like, that's not what we're doing over here, so fuck it.
Well, and this is a small story that exists within this is a very, when it comes right down to it, despite how vast and big the game is, this is a very, very intimate tale that's being told that exists within a bubble, while there is a much, much larger, more complex story not being told, just existing in the periphery. And I like knowing that that larger story exists, but I don't care about it because I've been made to care about this intimate story.
Yeah. These people are the thing that are important here.
Right. And so I don't want to diminish the importance of these by losing focus on that. And the game isn't doing that. But that's where the story could ultimately go in a larger metatextual context for this as a franchise going forward. And it's just an interesting thing to consider and think about. Masterful storytelling, though. Great stuff.
Yeah.
What about you lot?
Yeah, well, how much have you been playing this week, Steph?
Oh, God. I played mostly Cyberpunk still. I've actually made a proper concerted effort to do that. And then the other game I played is disgusting. Trying to get a review done for it, but the Switch 2, right, does not play well with capture cards yet.
Does it not? Right, it's been working alright with mine.
Well, it's not been working alright with mine, and I've looked it up, and, the advice online isn't helping me. The colours keep getting fucking washed out, and I've turned HDR off. I've fucked around with all of the HDR things, on, off, all the different settings, and I cannot get the thing to have balance the colours right. So getting screenshots for this review, which I really want up because I really want people to see how much this game disgusts me. It's Tamagatchi Plaza, by the way.
Oh, this one.
Yeah, I'm just annoyed at the moment. I need to get the screenshots off the Switch another way, I think.
There is a function to send them to yourself via the photo album. I can, after Podquisition, send you instructions to do that if it would help.
That might help, yeah.
Alternatively, I can try and grab you some screenshots my end or something if that would help.
It's okay. I'll figure it out some way. That's probably the way you're saying is probably the best. But yeah, my fucking... I thought it was the capture software I used, the capture utility for the Elgato fucking it up, because it's a horrible piece of software. But then even on OBS, it was just, it's so washed out. But anyway, those are the two games that I could talk about.
Okay. Well, I'm going to jump in with a really quick one, and then I'll throw it back to you, Steph. I am reluctantly, begrudgingly playing Pokemon Go again at the moment, and I just want to have a bit of a piss and moan about it. So, as someone that, I've talked about this before, I'm trying to get one of every kind of shiny Pokemon that it is possible to get, and usually that just means playing the main series entries obsessively, running around in circles, encountering Pokemon over and over and over again. But occasionally, a weirdly niche-specific Pokemon will only be available shiny in Pokemon Go, and it's always bundled with some bullshit that makes me kind of hate it. Shiny Mew was the last time I did this, and it was, you gotta spend real money to enter a limited time event for a weekend to get access to a quest chain that's gonna require you to be a daily active player for the next, 8 months to finish it. And I'm like, you made me spend money to have, 8 months of homework to fucking get this thing. The reason I've jumped back into it today is playing because in Scarlet and Violet there is this Pokemon called Gimmighoul. It's a little tiny man holding a golden coin, and if you collect
I know that bitch.
Yeah, you collect 1,000 of them, you can evolve a little man in a treasure chest into a man made of gold that looks kind of like a cross between a cheese string mascot and an Olympic mascot. But the little form that isn't in a treasure chest, that's just the tiny little man holding a coin, you could only get in Pokemon Go. And it's shiny right now in Pokemon Go, or it can be shiny. I think the rates are not ridiculous, but they're enough for me to be annoyed about it. It's 1 in 64 chances. But here's where it gets bullshit. there is 6 days to try and get a shiny one of this roaming form Gimmighoul. And during that 6 days, you have to A, do some convoluted bullshit every day, accepting a gift from another player in Pokemon Go to gain a postcard, to transfer the postcard to your Switch 2, to activate an item back on Pokemon Go, that for half an hour will let this little roaming Gimmighoul spawn every now and then, and have a chance at being shiny. But you can only do this once per day, and this event is only running for 6 days. So there is 3 hours total over 6 days in which I have a chance to find this shiny Pokemon. And if I don't, because I just wasn't lucky, statistically about once every 2 days statistics say I should probably find one of these shiny Pokemon. I've done shiny hunts where it's like, 1 in 4,000 chances that I got to like 20 plus thousand and didn't find the fucking shiny. I know that stated odds mean bullshit.
Yeah.
And I'm now, on day 2, having not found a shiny, going, I know my fucking luck. I'm gonna do all this bullshit, logging into this stupid game and walking around in the hot sun outside and, like, the summer heat wave to not get this fucking shiny Pokemon through no fault of my own. Just the 1 in 64 random number generator just didn't play nice for the 3 hours it was available. And I resent the fact that I am playing Pokemon Go right now, and that should not be the relationship that anyone has to a video game. Niantic, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to have something exclusive in here, hoping it'll get me back to being a daily active player. No, I will play for these 6 days, and then I will, out of spite, whether I succeed or not, I'll put your fucking app down and not come back to it again. So, yeah, I am annoyedly playing Pokemon Go right now. It's too hot in the UK for me to be doing that, but I'm doing it.
It really is. It's fucking
Stupid
warm.
Niantic.
This weather, right?
Yeah?
Fucking government should do something about that.
Fucking turn the temperature down, shouldn't they?
Fucking do something about that. I've done that thing. It's roundabout, but I've got the screenshots.
Oh, you got the
Sent from
screenshots?
the Switch to my phone and then emailed to myself.
I was looking up how to do it. It turns out one of the options is you just plug a USB cable into your computer and into your Switch 2, and you can just drag and drop them over.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's way easier.
Yeah, apparently you can just you might have to go into settings, data management, manage screenshots, and say you're allowed to copy it over USB.
Yeah.
But once you've done that, you can just drag and drop them.
Well, shit. Well,
Yeah.
that saved me a whole bunch of hassle.
Bit of faff of trying to get it from your phone back to your PC and whatnot.
Yeah. Cool.
There you go. I've sent you instructions on how to do it from your computer.
Wondrous, thank you.
Yeah, tell us about one of those things you've been playing. Do you want to tell us about Tamagotchis or Cyberpunk?
Fucking hell. Tamagatchi Plaza, right? What?
Doesn't look like a very good game.
How dare they? How dare they? So yeah, I've got the review written. I was going to post it yesterday. It should be up before this podcast is, so people can just see how angry it makes me. So, you know me, I like virtual pets. We just talked about it last week.
Yeah.
I like virtual pets. I have a number of Tamagotchi. And, you know, as someone who has some, I will say they're not all that great when you compare it to cheaper virtual pets that offer more.
Yeah. A Tamagotchi's not going to be like the puny Runes, where you've got like a little fingerable clit inside it.
Yeah, the Tamagotchis have no clit whatsoever, which, you know, has always been, since the 90s, one of their
biggest problem
problems.
with them.
But Bandai Namco absolutely skates by on brand value.
Oh, yeah.
And Tamagotchi Plaza is the cast iron fucking proof. It is such a lazy, threadbare, exploitative piece of shit. It is nothing. It is nothing. It is a continuation of the already bad Tamagotchi corner shop games on the DS, and it's, aside from the visuals, it's not been improved from there. Most of the game is dragging and dropping, so it's like there are all these shops that you work in, And when I say work, it is a chore. It is labour. So say you've got the clothes shop. Tamagotchis will come in and they will want certain clothes. And they will even give you a picture of the clothes. And all you do is click on the different components. Colours, shirt shape, bottom shape. And just drag and drop the right ones onto the sort of mannequin space. And that's most of the jobs. Dragging and dropping. Another one, the tea room, where they will ask for different teas with different snacks, and you drag the right ones onto the table. Job done. And in order to do it enough times to level up a shop, you have to do it so many fucking times, with no real variance to what's there. So the gameplay is grinding. They've boiled away everything that makes gameplay to have this pure, crystallized, platonic ideal of grinding, and they've sold it to children. And it is to give you an idea of just how little this game gives a shit about itself. One of the shops is the manga shop, where Tamagotchis come in and they want a certain type of manga, and what they will ask for will essentially be telling you what character they want, what items they want, and what the background should be. There are 2 panels to fill. You only have to put in what's asked. If they say, oh, I want Memechi's snack time in the forest, put the forest background in one panel, put a Memechi in there, like the character, and drop in one picture of a snack. For the second panel, drag and drop fucking anything, click finish, and you will get top marks. And I experimented with this, so I did the very bare minimum that is possible to do. Just the 3 requisite items. It'll be between 2 and 4. The requisites in one panel, and left the other one. I just threw one item in as quickly as possible. Perfect marks. The other way, I did it the other way as well. I layered everything on top of each other, didn't separate it, threw in more stuff. It looked like a garbled mess. Top marks. Because the game doesn't care about presentation or making something nice. It's just going off its bare bones checklist. The tea room is another one that's like that. Like, they give you the illusion that there's more to do. So they give you like table dressings and things so that you might think you've got to set the table nicely. But no, so long as you have the absolute basic ingredients asked for, job is done. And there's not even a way to, like, outside of taking a screenshot via the console, there's no way to, like, save your favourite mangas. And you can't even do a screenshot of that because it will, on the rating screen that tells you how well you did, it will scroll down that manga. So you'll only ever get the last panel, you won't get the top one. So there's no way to save it. So you can't even say that, well, you could make it look nice for fun, for role-playing, because it's disposable. And you got to do it dozens of times, and I mean dozens of times you're doing the same jobs. So there's no incentive to do anything but the barest minimum. And I said in the review, it does put the player in the role of Tamagatchi Plaza's developers, which is cobbling together the most basic requisite assets to have a minimum viable product. That is, the games are reflective of the game. And I shouldn't say games. I don't want to call any of the jobs you do in this a mini-game, because that oversells what you're doing. I cannot, in fact, undersell what you do. I don't think it's possible to lowball descriptively what you're doing. and it disgusts me. There are a couple of ones that aren't dragging and dropping. Most of them are. There is a rap battle shop. They're all called shops. There's a rap battle shop, which I think it's the most simplistic rhythm game I have ever seen in my life. It's 2 buttons, and they move really slowly up to a bar, and then that is it. That's it. It's a QTE, stretched out, an elongated QTE. And so barren is this game. Before I even leveled the shop up once, which means before I even completed one cycle of rap battles, I was seeing lyrics repeated multiple times, because even a diversity of text was too much effort for this lazy fucking game. And why this makes me so angry is exactly the reason some listeners might want to give for me not being angry, which is, what do you expect, Steph? It's for kids.
Kids deserve stuff that is
I
good.
expect better. I expect better. Kids should expect better. They absolutely deserve better.
It's the fucking excuse you always hear made for, like, family-friendly movies being shit, where it's like, oh, well, it's designed for kids, what do you want? I don't know. There's, like, fucking amazing art that is, like, approachable to children and enjoyable to children, but has some fucking depth and interesting stuff going on in it. Children deserve things made with care, not stuff shitted out to be like, it's technically something.
Well, yeah, like, kids are not completely tasteless. Yeah. And even if they were, like, charmed by the characters for a while, they'd get bored so quickly. Fee's eldest kid walked in while I was playing it, looked at it for like 2 minutes, and then he'd stopped just short of pleading me to leave the shop I was in and go somewhere else, because he didn't know that the rest of the game was exactly more of what he was looking at. He was just that bored of looking at it, at this repetitive crap. And why would he want to stick with Tamagatchi Plaza? He's got the Lego games. He's got Slime Rancher. He's got Astro fucking Bot, you know?
Right.
Kids have better. And I have such little patience for the excuse of it's for kids, because using a younger audience as an excuse to be a lazy sack of shit, to be a fucking hack, is honestly worse than if you were trying to swindle adults. It's more exploitative. Fuck you. And so, yeah, that's why I've gone as far as to write a review of this thing. It's why I'm angry about it. It genuinely isn't because I like Tamagotchi. I'm more disappointed. I'm not angry about that. I'm disappointed that there is so much potential you could have with Tamagotchi as a brand for video games. And over the years, there have been barely any Tamagotchi games. So few. Like, we are talking maybe, I don't even think we're out of double digits over the decades. And almost all of them are shit. And most of them are this Tamagotchi corner shop shit. It comes to something that certainly the most robust one I've seen is a microtransaction fueled free-to-play mobile game, which shows you where they've put the fucking effort. Shocking. Honestly, nothing I've said, I think, does justice to how little game this is, to how skeletal and threadbare, to just how despicable this game is. Fuck it. God damn.
I'll tell you something about the state of Tamagotchi video games. If you look up just every Tamagotchi video game that exists, no matter how niche or whatever, doesn't have to be translated into English on their wiki, you get 51 games. If you look up the Wikipedia page for Tamagotchi video games to get a sense of like which ones were relevant enough to get like a Wikipedia page, that list is 6 games.
There we are, that sounds more like it. Yeah, I guarantee the 50 odd entries are like variants and like other bits of software.
That includes such games as Tamagotchi Data Card Ass. Card Ass. Yeah. I don't know what Data Card Ass is, but
if we're including
it sure
things
is.
like that, then yeah. I can't remember exactly what that stuff is, but yeah, like, it's
Super Note to Hack and Tamagotchi.
Yeah, it's bits of throwaway software. But no, you're absolutely right. If we are talking just what we would consider a video game product, then yeah, 6 sounds absolutely right.
To be fair, I'm looking at some of these now. I was curious what the Data Card Ass thing was about. Those are essentially glorified gacha vending machines with interactive screens and cards that play a minigame before you get your gacha thing. Yeah, we're looking at maybe 6 of any note.
And it is such a shame. Like, I had a smile on my face when before I realised it was just Tamagotchi Corner Shop again. I had a smile on my face because I was, unlike in the DS games, you can directly control a Tamagotchi and move it around this plaza. And Unimaruchi is my favourite one. I know I've got that name wrong. They're a more recent one, and they're pink and blue and a fluffy cloud that holds a little hula hoop around themselves. And their pronouns are they, them, which is a more to do with the mechanics of the game than anyone at Bandai Namco being inclusive. But fuck it, non-binary as far as I'm concerned. So I had this little smile on my face. I'm like, look, it's a little village square kind of thing. And I'm like bobbing along and there's other Tamagotchis around. And it took less than 5 minutes. Like, I went into the clothing store and was dragging and dropping and realised, oh fuck, here we are again. And I know that kids do not have the patience for this because Fee's youngest, who is, very young, played Tamagotchi Corner Shop on the DS and never stuck it out longer than 10 minutes. Never did. Yeah. Because there's nothing to stick out. It's so exploitative, and it's so disappointing.
In a world where games like Astrobot exist, you can't use the excuse of it's okay that it's shit, it's for kids.
No, not at all.
Kids deserve better shit.
They absolutely. Like, there are brilliant games aimed at kids, and that is what you should be aiming for. And the fact that it's just so par for the course with this series, with Tamagotchi as a thing, it really does, it just makes me sad. Because, as I said, I love virtual pets. Against my better nature, I will always have a fondness for Tamagotchi as a thing. I am sure, like the sucker I am, I have not bought my last Tamagotchi. And I'm just disappointed at how little they have ever tried. And how little Bandai Namco cares. And it is a shame. A real shame.
Side note, I looked up Unimaruchi. Super cute design.
Lovely.
And from what I can tell, the they-them pronouns is not accidental. The name seems to be referential to the fact that they can be like an evolution from a male or female Tamagotchi.
Oh, but that's what I meant by game mechanics, because most Tamagotchi evolve via gender, whereas Unimaruchi doesn't.
Which I always its name seems to be built into that.
But no,
its name is apparently built on that. So it seems like the naming thing the gender thing is deliberate.
Oh, sure. If they wanted to be like socially deeper than that, then that's all the better. But yeah, Unimaruchi, non-binary, and one of the more, because some of those Tamagotchi, like, are really shit. Like, some of the worst character designs you could ever see. So when you see one that's actually appealing, and not like a circle with a sex offender's beard scribbled on it, there is one that just looks fucking dodgy. I'm just gonna say it. When you actually see one that's quite cute and appealing, yeah, it makes me very happy.
I'm looking at lists of their designs now, and my favourite one I've seen is called Batora, and it's just a little black scribble with a hat on that says no artwork.
Yeah.
I can respect that.
Tamagotchi as a thing it's fun to dig into if you are so inclined, because there is all sorts of weirdness in that series. It didn't make it out of Japan in the translation, but the backstory as to why Tamagotchi are on Earth is because their planet got drunk. Their planet got too drunk to live on, and so they came here. There is one character, they're addicted to coffee in America. They're basically an alcoholic in Japan. There is so much alcohol use in the Tamagotchi series. It's quite incredible. There's all sorts of quirky stuff like that if you dig into it. God, I'm frustrated by it. That should be a great series. That should be a great series with really cool products and awesome video games. And all they've done is coast. It is one of the most complacent game-adjacent licenses you could hope to see. And it absolutely guts me that so little has been done.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
What about you, Conrad? You been playing anything else this week?
Yeah, I have really dug into Dead Rising Remastered finally.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, I love Dead Rising. It's the game that I told myself when I get around to buying a 360, that's the first used game I'm going to buy. It was the determining factor on which console I would get first in that generation. And I loved that game. It's one of the few games that I have, like, all of the achievements for. I went so hard on that game. I love it. And this is a much better version of that game. The engine is just superior. The RE engine is great, and it's doing good work here. And I'm not experiencing slowdown or any of that, which is great. The survivors do seem smarter, but also the casual difficulty mode makes everything, just a little more relaxed. And I'm not mad at that. That's how I've been playing, and I am totally fine. But I found it so much easier that I had relatively little difficulty rescuing everyone, which is surprising. It was more an issue, like the times I ran into problems, it was a function of the game structure making it unable to launch certain events because of how I had approached rescuing people. But it was something that could be overcome, and God, it's just so satisfying. I know that game got a lot of shit because of its scheduling and the sort of not rigid necessarily approach you needed to take to actually be successful in the story, but that it placed so many constraints on you having to be in places at certain times frustrated people. I find that part of it really interesting and fun, because now I have to I have freedom within constraints, and that's something I like. I like constraints, because having too much freedom doesn't focus me in a productive direction. Choice paralysis is real, and I think a lot of the games that we have that pack in all of this useless, time-filling shit, part of the reason that they can get away with that is that we don't have anything to force us on track. So it's just an interesting, mechanically driven experience that I do recommend people give a chance to, and kind of be open to the idea of a game placing limits on you. Because that's good. Constraints are good. Constraints help us to problem solve. Anyway, that's my spiel on Dead Rising. It's a good game.
Yeah. Other than Pokemon Go that I'm regrettably playing, I've not played a huge amount of new stuff this week. I've been playing more Death Stranding 2, and that's mainly been me pottering around building infrastructure. This game has entirely, for me, become a game of I want to build every road and every monorail and have a nice functional system of public transport available.
So the general problem I had with the first game is the compulsion to connect everything. Yeah, no, I gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the game through and then went, okay, I'm going back through and I want every single road connected.
I admire your self-restraint. I do not have it.
No, I wouldn't have had it if I wasn't trying to get through that game on, tight time constraints. Going back through, I very much enjoyed playing that game through for the first time. I'm having a better time with the game I was already enjoying now that I'm slowing down and just going, this entire game is me just trying to min-max how much ceramics and metal I can have with me at all times to be building more roads. I want to be min-maxing my monorail routes so that I can use all of my chiral crystals to do production runs at factories and then use the monorail to get my large amounts of materials closer to where I'm going to need them for the roads. I'm having a great time with that. The other thing is I've been playing the new games for this week on Season 2 of the Playdate. One of them, nice and simple, it's called Chance's Lucky Escape. It is a very traditional, if narratively silly, point-and-click adventure game. You play a dog called Lucky, who has, from what I can tell, just finished doing a crime, and is about to be caught by the police, and is continually stumbling out of being caught by the police through sheer dumb luck. For an unlucky character, their lack of luck is working out in their favour very well. Such as, oh no, I accidentally fell down this open manhole cover. Thank God, I did so just in time to be out of sight of the police when they found my car, for example. The thing that's interesting about it is that it uses a lot more functions of the Playdate than many other games on the Playdate have done, to the point that I wasn't really aware that the Playdate had a microphone built into it and could use that as an input for games. I knew it had an accelerometer that's rarely used. I knew it had the crank. Didn't know it had a volume sensor. But what I like about it is that the game is not... it gives you a heads up at the start, like, these are the things that might sometimes be the solution to a problem you're facing. But it doesn't beat you over the head with it once you're in there. Like, it's not giving you constant reminders and flashing things on screen to go, oh, I'm supposed to use the crank right now. It leaves you to remember there's like 3 things that you can do with this system that might also be a layer on top of this point-and-click adventure game. And I've liked the puzzle logic and puzzle design there has been nice. The other one is a side-on perspective platforming Metroidvania called Tiny Turnip. And the plot, as I understand it, is a turnip made a wish to a wizard to have arms. And now the turnip has arms. And now he's going off on a grand adventure with just being a turnip with arms. Half of the time, the core mechanic is you're basically rock climbing. You use the crank to rotate your current arm around where you want it to be positioned, and then you press a button to, like, grab the wall, and now the next arm is what the crank is controlling. as you very physicsy do this sort of like rock climbing platforming, but with unlocking new abilities for your turnip that will help you as you explore, such as the first one is shrink your arms back into your body so you can be a turnip and just roll through tight gaps. It is nonsensical, but it is gorgeously animated. It's everything about the way this very gangly turnip with arms moves reminds me of trying to navigate in something like Octodad. It's oddly charming watching this thing try and maneuver limbs that it shouldn't have. So yeah, those are the two things I've been playing on Playdate this week. Steph, do you want to tell us about how Cyberpunk's going?
Yeah, I've played it for too long. Because I've started calling things preem. I can't even force myself to refer to anyone as a chumba, though. But I have played it for so long that exposure to its made-up lingo has started to infect my brain.
A little side note. Do you know why all Cyberpunk dialogue is like that, in like regardless of what kind of cyberpunk media you're going through? The first major example of cyberpunk narrative, basically the guy who wrote it moved to Montreal in Canada and was hanging out in like the artsy drug scene at the time. So they're all just talking, like any cyberpunk story you go through, they're just talking like French Canadian 80s stoner kids.
Oh my
God. That's what the fucking dialogue is.
That is so gonk. Yeah, so it's just really good. Like, when you think to all the controversies that led up to it, like when it first came out, I didn't want to touch it. I was exhausted by it before it had even released, because there was so much, like, so many controversies, so much bullshit. And then it came out and was completely fucking, just a complete mess. A couple years after that, I tried it. It was a few years ago, I think. And liked it a lot, and then eventually just stopped. But with it being on the Switch too, and let's face it, there being limited other options, I did get it again to see how it was, mostly for the novelty and for some coverage. I am probably gonna do a full review of it. And it absolutely got its hooks in me this time. I will say the Phantom Liberty stuff, the DLC campaign is very good. It is very good. The whole sort of spy flick thing they've got going on, where the main cyberpunk story is very sort of detective noir. Phantom Liberty is a lot more James Bondish. Complete with a fancy party that you infiltrate, which is a very fun level. And they did a really good job of giving you characters that you've got to choose, like, who you side with and who you screw. And you genuinely can't pick one, because they're both so untrustworthy. And I will give that game its credit. A moment occurs that was genuinely shocking, and not in a in terms of shocking content how we might describe it. It wasn't anything too graphic or something that was tasteless or could have been. It was just a story beat, but it was done in such an abrupt way, involving as a characters I was really into. And as I say that, I think anyone who's played it now knows what I'm talking about. And it genuinely punched me in the gut. And my opinion of some characters changed on a dime, and it actually altered the decisions that I made afterwards. because I was pretty sure I knew what I was going to do when the time came to like sort of make your big sort of final call. And I changed it because this moment, one character did something that was so shitty to me that I, for the rest of the story, I was just fuck you. Like, just absolutely fuck you. And I can't say many games have been able to, like, hook me that well when it comes to making in-game choices. To have me agonize, make a decision, and then change my mind. That's good. That's some good stuff. So yeah, I'm really still really quite taken with it. And now that it is fixed, it's still got issues, you know. The fact that I keep having to reload saves in order to get my car calling, like my little car summoning ability to work again. Because if you go in a car that's not owned by you, it's almost certain that will break, even if it's another car you've got to get into for a mission. And it's such a pain in the ass. And then there's little things that I think they should have, that aren't bugs, but are design things, like the quick hacks that you can do, all of your hacks. You can't organize them in the drop down you get from the list you have to pick from, which can really fuck you over if you're trying to find something, because time is slowed while you select a quick hack, but it's not frozen. And there are, depending on the quick hacks you have, there are going to be optimum ways to do it. Like, you know, I like to put on the cyberware malfunction first before doing other things. Or like the weapon glitch I find is very fun. So I like to open combat with that sometimes. And I wish I could just arrange it so that the list would have that first. Instead, what you've got to do, and nowhere are you told this, work out the order you want them in first, and then add them to your quick hack selection slots in reverse order to that. And that will get them in the right order. Why? Why is that? Why did they? And there's other little things like that. Just these little moments of like, I think it's one of these things that gives an example of why launching games in broken states can have a real long-term impact, because that's the kind of stuff they should have been fixing instead of the entire game. These are the things that could have been focused on and could have got more focus, but instead, you know, it was the whole this is unplayable thing that it had going on for a while. But other than that, like, it is still a gorgeous looking game. The gameplay is, I think it's fun, no matter how trivial it is. Long before you're near the end game, the quick hacks alone, like any Netrunner build, is laughing their fucking ass off. And even if you don't do Netrunner, like, there are so many weapons that you can get that absolutely fuck stuff up. But I think it's done in a fun enough way that it's not boring. It certainly hasn't bored me, because I put in over like 90 fucking hours on it. And I'm still going. So, and there's so much to do, I will say, the amount, and some really good, like, way better side quests than the main campaign, with some really good characters worth digging into. When it comes to NPCs and support characters that you care about, they did really well, and I love the romancing system that it has, in that there isn't a romancing system. You just build the relationships with the dialogue choices you have, and there's no indication that one of them is romantic or not. And you are wondering at times if there is someone you were interested in. A, was it possible? And B, did you blow it? You could look up a guide, sure, but I haven't, because they've done so well at making it natural. And that is something I think CD Projekt Red's always been good at. I always liked how dorky a lot of the sex is in The Witcher 3. And it's so much more realistic as a result, because it's so casual and it's so matter of fact. Not like some of these video games that want to be all mature and therefore go way overboard with trying to make it either classy or sensitive or what have you. When I still think one of the best sexual moments in a game was Claire Obscure, where it was just, hey, want to hook up? Yep. And that was it. Because sometimes it's like that. And it's way better than any of these games that have systems where you put kindness coins into NPCs until the sex comes out. I don't want them to be transactional. I want them to just be there. And I love games that do that. And Cyberpunk, I think, does that. Like, I haven't actually boinked anyone in all my 90 hours of it. Partly because I keep forgetting to go back to certain quest threads. But also because, like, yeah, it just isn't presented as a goal at any point. It's just something that might happen. There was one character that tried it on with me, and I said something dorky instead of suggestive, and they were just like, gave off the impression that they read the room wrong, and that was it. So it's just stuff like that. Like, it impresses me. And I like to see that, because it means we've just come such a long way away from the kindness coin system, at least for most games. Well, for some games. Well, for a handful of games.
I've similarly been chipping away playing through it again because it was available on Switch 2 and I wanted something to be playing on it. That Switch 2 port, pretty decent. There's still things about that game that, like, I didn't bother playing it properly at the time when it came out because there was stuff that kind of skeeved me about it, and I still kind of feel the same about it.
You don't want to mix it up.
Oh, look, I can respect that this game being great, while also going, every time I see one of those fucking fetishizing energy drink posters going, that was just such an unnecessary place for you to have dug your heels in as a developer. Like, you really didn't fucking need to.
Like, it's one of those things where it's like, contrary to what people say about us, like, it's not, I'm not offended. It's not offensive. It does make me cringe, because it's just stupid.
The closest it comes to annoying me is when they made a whole big song and dance about, like, no, the game's transpositive, you can play a trans character, and then your pronouns are tied to your voice choice. You pick a voice and that's your pronouns. It's like, there's little things like that go, rather than just admit that maybe you kind of fucked up a little, you dug your heels in and didn't really fix a problem.
Yeah. It's such a fascinating thing, because it's one of the more... No, I'll say queer positive, even though it's more...
Yeah!
I'm more impressed that it's very matter of fact. For a game that has put its foot in it so much, Cyberpunk 2077 sees the world the way I see the world, which I can't say about almost anything else. Because such is my social life, and such is the kind of, the circles I move in and the kind of world I inhabit. It's just a given that almost everyone I know is queer. And I've genuinely forgotten, because it's been so long, exactly what it's like to be in straight-dominated cultures. So it really is remarkable to me that Cyberpunk 2077 is so laissez-faire with all of it. And not in a, I don't care who you sleep with, like that kind of thing that a bloke might say at a pub to sound, like, modern. It's just taken as a given that half the people in a room are going to be queer of some degree, and that is how I see the world.
And that is why I find it so tacky.
Yeah.
That I'm like, I keep having these moments where I'm like, there's part of me that wants to hold this up, and then I see those fucking posters and go, you know what? It's just like, it's just such an unnecessary little... just icky thing going on.
Yeah, and it's fascinating how that game is at once so in line with how I see the world, and so gratingly, like, just such a grating fuck up in other regards.
Yeah. Well, before we finish, we got a couple of little newsy bits we can very quickly do. Mm-hmm. I'm going to start with this one, because this is just a clickbait headline I saw this week that I want to play a little game with you both on, if you've got a minute.
Oh, sure.
I'm gonna read you this clickbait headline, and I want you to try and guess what the story is being alluded to. So the headline from Unilad Tech is: Nintendo makes extremely concerning announcement about the OG Switch that could affect 40 million people.
So, Unilad, just to let you know what that outlet is like.
Yeah.
That will be the outlet that once took a video that a fan of a podcast Conrad and I were on. A fan took audio from a podcast of me singing a mournful rendition of Scatman to our friend Jonathan. And a fan of ours set it to footage of Bane in Dark Knight Rises at the stadium. And it's fucking brilliant. And Unilad stole it. And
that's their whole thing.
Yeah, they put it on their Facebook or what have you, 4 million viewers. I kicked up a big stink about it. And I was like, just credit the people involved. And just to get at me, they did credit the uploader and no one else.
I'm fine with that. I'm okay with that.
I'm glad that the person who did that transformative work got the credit. That was the main thing. But I could smell the passive-aggressive, point of it.
So, with that context in mind, I'll repeat the headline.
Yes.
Nintendo makes extremely concerning announcement about the OG Switch that could affect 40 million people.
That sounds concerning.
Try and make a guess what this could be.
So with the numbers that large, it has to probably relate to my Nintendo accounts in some way. I guess, are there 40 million Switches in circulation?
There's 150 million Switches, I think, in circulation. So, this could be a subset of Switch owners, yes.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because it feels like it has to be a subset of Switch owners.
Sorry, I double-checked. It's 125 million Switches sold.
Okay.
Anything I could imagine feels way too big for whatever I'm sure is coming.
Yeah, it has to be banal. That's what I'm struggling with.
Yeah, I can't think of anything banal enough.
I'm going to give you your first clue, which is you're on the wrong track thinking that 40 million people is Switch owners.
Oh.
Okay.
This is not people who own a Nintendo Switch. I'll read it to you one more time.
Yeah.
Nintendo makes extremely concerning announcement about OG Switch that could affect 40 million people.
But it's not Switch owners.
No, it's 40 million people that don't own a Switch.
Nintendo's going to assassinate anyone who didn't buy one.
Okay, so I'm going to give in and tell you. That 40 million people is the population of Canada. Because this story, the extremely concerning announcement is the OG Switch, not the Switch 2, but the OG Switch is going up by about $20 in price.
Right.
And because that price rise is happening in Canada, potentially, if every one of the 40 million people living in Canada was thinking about buying an OG Switch anytime soon,
they could all be
those 40 million people could theoretically all be affected by this price rise.
The cynicism off of that is
No. My favorite bit of it is the subheading. Nintendo has seemingly confirmed everyone's greatest fears.
Everyone's greatest fears.
40 million people affected. and this is assuming Canada's population is 40.1 million. They're assuming that 100,000 Canadians bought an OG Switch, and that the remaining 40 million are now devastated by this news.
I mean, let's be fair, they didn't say it was 40 million people's greatest fear. We're all in solidarity with those 40 million.
Yeah.
This is everyone's greatest fear. I do remember an old Batman story in which Scarecrow did get him with that. Like, Canadians might not be able to get a Switch, and he's like, fuck, Robin,
the
help!
gas, it got me, fuck!
Can we still get one second hand, Robin?
Quick news just for you, Steph. You know you were really enjoying 2 Point Museum recently.
I did. I loved it.
Yeah, that's getting some DLC.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's getting some fantasy DLC that's like you want to put D&D type stuff, like mimics and things in your museum.
I do, absolutely.
Yeah, that's happening when is it happening? Soon. I don't think there's a date for it, but there's more stuff coming to... July 17th, in like 2 weeks, there's more stuff coming to 2 Point Museum.
And is that it? Is that... There's no twist to this? Because genuinely, I was sat here like, when is the penny going to drop? And everyone's
there's no
pennies.
No, there's no penny dropping. No, everyone's worst
just
fear.
Getting some.
Yeah. Do you want like?
Can I put a mimic in it?
Yeah, there's a little mimic with one eye and a little mouth that's eating gems.
Fucking mate, I love mimics.
Hire some fantasy experts. You could have a barbarian working in your museum.
Oh, mate.
Okay, but how bad is it that we were all waiting for the other shoe
I
to
was
drop?
here waiting for the thing that would destroy my regard for the entire game. I was waiting for extremely concerning news. Oh, mate. Well, I'm glad.
No, it's just new stuff for that game you've been enjoying. I just wanted to be able to tell you a game you enjoyed.
You can't scare us like that, Laura.
Okay,
I'm genuinely pleased though, because that game really is like, everything I said about it, I still believe. Like, it's such a beacon in an era where games are getting more expensive and offering so much less. To have a game that offers such an absurd amount and is considerably cheaper than other games in that bracket. It's wonderful. And yeah, I don't begrudge them DLC. For the value prospect you get, I absolutely don't begrudge them some DLC at this point.
And also, apparently, on that front, they're putting the base game 30% off when the DLC comes out.
Fucking A.
So if people haven't checked it out yet, it's also going to be cheap. So that game you like, that's pretty good.
Lovely.
Couple of quick bits that are like actual newsy stuff that we should probably touch on. Sony is being sued in a Dutch class action lawsuit over what is being referred to as the Sony tax.
Oh.
So, the short version of this, to try and summarize the class action lawsuit, it is technically possible still right now to buy a PS5 and play physical discs on it. But that is being made more difficult. At launch, you could buy one that just had a disc drive in it. Now, you can only buy one that doesn't have a disc drive and add a disc drive later, but those disc drives are expensive and hard to get a hold of. Like, they're never in stock, they're really difficult to buy a disc drive to go on your PS5 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
The argument being made is, while technically you could purchase a disc-based game, Sony is making it prohibitively difficult to buy a version of their console that gives you access to disc-based games. And the prices of digital games are statistically a good percentage higher than, you could get a deal physical. And that they believe that this is Sony trying to quietly shift towards a monopoly where you are forced to use their digital platform to buy games without technically doing it. They're trying to, as the argument being made by this class action is basically, Sony is trying to weasel their way into forcing you to pay their inflated prices because they don't like that you could buy a game cheap physical.
It's always been the dream, right?
Yeah.
To eliminate the secondary market, to, reign complete control over pricing. And it's clear that's what they want. And this is a very sort of subtle way to push in that direction.
Yeah. Now, see, the thing I think's more interesting about this lawsuit is it seems like it's. I don't know if either of you were aware of, have been following this recently with Apple. Apple has basically been strong-armed into allowing, at some point in the future, app stores that are not the iOS App Store on Apple devices, because they were deemed to be, basically having a monopoly by having the only available App Store. It seems like this Dutch lawsuit is trying to make the same argument about PlayStation, and trying to lean on that ruling about Apple sort of as a point of comparison. Reading from this, Sony is the sole provider of digital content on the world's most popular gaming console. With more than 80% of Dutch console owners using a PlayStation, Sony is free to make decisions with little regard for competitors, developers, or consumers. It feels like we might be gearing up for is it monopolistic for only the platform holder to have a digital storefront on the console, and to not have an alternative way to buy digital console games on console? Which would be an interesting argument to see attempt to be fought out.
Mm-hmm.
Another story of a country having a bit of a shout at console makers. Nintendo is getting in trouble with a Brazilian consumer protection agency because some people have been getting, permanent bans on their Nintendo Switch 2s. And it's been happening in most cases, because they've been doing stuff Nintendo tells you not to do. Seemingly, Nintendo has worked out how to detect people who are using those Switch flash carts, and is giving people using those bans. Not all of the bans are about that. There was a story recently where someone called their Switch account Twink Link, and got a permanent account ban. And apparently that ban was so permanent that they contacted Nintendo, who went, "Yep, this does seem like an overly extreme response to your situation. You probably shouldn't have been banned. Nintendo does not have the ability to undo your ban."
What the fuck?
Right? Apparently Nintendo does not have the power to undo Nintendo's own bans of people's consoles or accounts. Right. So, this leads to the Brazilian Consumer Protection Agency being a little bit pissed off about Nintendo's ability to permanently disable Switch 2 units. Basically, they're saying this violates Brazilian consumer protection laws for, your ability to purchase a thing and use it as you wish, and, you own that thing, and it can't be maliciously permanently shut down by the creator of it because they don't like how you're using it. We'll see whether this goes anywhere, but they're basically arguing that the Nintendo's currently, their EULA is abusive towards consumers, and that something needs to change there. So yeah, again, nice to see a government consumer protection agency, being pretty on the ball about this. This is, less than a month since the consoles come out, which is faster than, government agencies of countries usually move on this kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And the last one, and this is a very quick one, but this is just one that's annoyed me this week. Are you both aware of the Switch 2 game that's coming out in August, Drag X Drive? The wheelchair basketball game that Nintendo refuses to call wheelchair basketball?
Oh, yes, we did
Remember
talk
me talking about
that
this
a bit.
one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is my little personal point of frustration with this. This game uses your Joy-Con as mice to emulate moving a wheelchair. I think that's cool, it's interesting. I've been, given that this is a game about a sport played primarily by disabled people, I was really hoping we'd see an alternative control scheme for this game that wasn't so big motion controls related. We kind of got confirmation that that's not going to be happening. This game is playable when docked and when in tabletop mode, but not in handheld mode, which seems to confirm they're not going to make any kind of control scheme that lets you use, analog sticks or something instead. They'd rather the game just not be playable in handheld mode, meaning
Right.
doesn't look like we're going to be getting an accessible control scheme for this disability-themed sports game.
That's the thing, because it's you know what? If you could make the case that it can't be played any other way, I'd be willing to hear that out. But when it's this is when it's the wheelchair basketball game.
Yeah.
That's when I take a bit of umbrage with it.
I get it. It's just personally disappointing to see. Yeah, that's the news for this week, I think.
Well,
that'll probably do us.
Well, there we are. But you know what, Laura? You talk a lot about accessibility in your work.
I do, yeah.
While we're on the subject, it's actually the perfect lead-in for you to tell us about that work and all of the other lovely stuff you do.
Oh, well, you can find all the stuff I do at Laura K. Buzz pretty much everywhere on the internet that you find stuff. Let me find something quickly. The big one I'm going to recommend is if you are in or around Brighton in the UK, Wednesday, July 9th, that'll be less than a week after this episode of the podcast goes up, I'm giving a talk at the Game Accessibility Gathering going on at Unity's office in Brighton. It's going to be a day of little micro talks about accessibility going on. It'll be a bunch of 15-minute, very condensed talks about accessibility, little break, another 15-minute talk about accessibility. Some examples of stuff going on there during the day include accessible language in games, approachability design and the place that has in accessibility in horror games. I'm going to be giving a talk about the past, present, and potential future of autistic accessibility in games. The event, it's happening on the Wednesday, July 9th, starting at 11 a.m., finishing at 5 p.m., I think. Go check out my Blue Sky if you want links to that. It should be a really interesting day. I hope people check it out. Other than that, just Laura K. Buzz. Find me at Laura K. Buzz wherever. What about you, Conrad? Where are you at on the internet?
Oh, you could find me at Conrad Zimmerman on Blue Sky. You could hang out with me on Twitch at twitch.tv/thatconradzimmerman. I stream Sundays, Mondays, Tuesdays. It's mostly Spelunky 2 at this point, but it's a fun hang. You can buy anti-capitalist propaganda and Jimquisition merchandise at mercenarycreative.com. And everything I do online gets supported through Patreon at patreon.com/fistshark. And you know who else has a Patreon? Stephanie Sterling.
Only send 10 screenshots at a time. What are you fucking like, Nintendo? Patreon.com/Jimquisition. That supports this podcast and the web show, which will be, or should be going on a sabbatical towards the end of this month, July, as I've been talking about, because I've got so much shit going on and I'm trying to move house as well. It's a whole thing. But also reviews on thejimquisition.com. The more recent review was Firebreak, and there should be one for Tamagatchi Plaza on the front page right now. Other than that, I've got my return to wrestling coming up July 18th. Stephanie Sterling versus Kid Bandit, The Squeakquel, True Grit Wrestling in Leeds. Then I will be at Pinfall Wrestling on August 10th. Do check out Quantum Witch and Date Everything, two games that came out that I have been involved with, and both of them very well regarded, so that makes me really happy to see. And I'm always doing stuff involving Vampire Survivors, including Vampire Survivors The Grimoire, a law book that I have. It's going to be fucking great. So do check that out as well. That'll be coming out in the future. That's it. Thank you all so much. I'm going to continue this application to see if I have a house in a few weeks' time. I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.